Hello, my name's John. These are my new Space Wolves. This is a hobby half hour. You're watching war games, models, and other hobbies. Hello and welcome back to another video. Today's hobby half hour, I am going to be putting Space Wolves together, finishing off my conversion of my Space Wolf Long Fangs, which I started in my last video. I'll drop a link in the description. So I'm just going to jump straight in. Now, excuse me if I cough or anything during this video. I've been suffering from a bit of a fever, but there's always room for hobby, so I thought I'd cheer myself up by putting some Space Wolves together. So what I've got here first, if I hold this up to camera, that is a skull that was on one of the Wolfguard Terminator belts. And I needed to put the bodies of the Wolfguard Terminators together to make sure I got the right skull. And it is the old icon for the Long Fangs. So I'm going to put this on my Long Fang here. Let's zoom in a little bit while I'm doing this. So this Long Fang is based on the original Long Fangs that were available, the kind of the Devastator Squad style, which is my favourite Space Wolf and pretty much any Space Marine squad. So now I've put that on, I'm going to let that dry for a little bit. And in my last video I started putting together my Long Fangs. I finished off this one with a multi-melter. I've got bits for all of the other ones, so let's bring these bits in and start putting them together. So yeah, I'm going to run these as a Devastator squad. We'll see how many I put together, and then I've got my Wolfguard as well to put together. Apologies if I don't talk much while I'm putting these together. I want to try and save what's left of my voice and throat. There's nothing better than when you're not feeling 100%, being able to just chill out and do some hobby. And that's one of the benefits I find with my hobby half hours. These are now my real-time videos where I don't need to do any editing or cutting or anything like that. What you see is what you get with the videos. The only time anything will be cut out of my real-time videos is if there's a ring on the doorbell, phone rings, door knock, all those kind of things. Let the dog out. Okay, so I'm going to jump between the models while I do this. So I'm going to let this one dry. So that heavy bolter is the one from, I think it's the Company Champions, Company Heroes, whatever it is. I picked it up off eBay. But I'm not going to put that shield on the front. I quite like the stripped back heavy bolter. But let's let that dry while I go on to putting some of the next one together. So this is a missile launcher Long Fang. So there's going to be two missile launchers, a multi-melter, heavy bolter, and the Sergeant. Oops. And that's the first drop of the video. Now the old Space Marine missile launchers had a massive hole in the shoulder pad here, which means there's not much to glue with. It does mean you can move it around quite a lot. I'm going to have to add some more glue to that. I've been looking forward to the Space Wolves for quite a while, the update. And I've just seen that the Death Watch are also getting a new updated kill team, which looks quite good. It'll go with all of my other Death Watch stuff. Okay, this one is being a bit of a pain. Move the other hand. Okay. So I'm just going to tack some glue in place. Now the tricky thing, I'm using what is now the firstborn Space Marine parts on Primaris parts. The bodies are slightly wider, so you do get a little bit of strangeness on the shoulders, but you can hide that with shoulder pads and things, so I'm not too worried. I want to make sure lift that up, make sure that's firing straight. Put some glue down the back there. I'm not too happy with the way that arm's shifted. Okay. I'm going to put that one to one side, and then this missile launcher one is going to be a lot easier because it's not going to be firing the missile launcher, it's going to be walking along with it like that. So that's now the one thing I have to say which is a bit disappointing is that how even the Devastator squad isn't on the digital army builder for Space Wolves. I have Warhammer Plus, so I've got access to the digital builder, and when you buy a codex you put the code in, you get all the details and that kind of thing, which, yes, it's another paywall, but hey, I like to build my armies, and that digital builder works quite nicely. But yeah, it's a shame that the Devastator squad, that is really not liking that, isn't on there. It's all the other squads that you'd expect are, but any of the firstborn ones are kind of slowly disappearing. I do fear that one day, in the not too distant future, maybe the next edition, we will lose a lot of the firstborn things. But I still love a tactical squad and a Devastator squad, so make sure I have my data slates with all of that information. Okay, so there's that one there. While that is drying, I'm going to sort out the other arm for this one. So I'm going to use, from the Grey Hunter set, this sword arm, except it's not going to be with a sword, it's going to be with a pointy finger from the Devastator kit. And I'd say the Devastator kit is probably one of the best kits for conversions and parts, just because of the amount of things it has on it, heavy weapons and all sorts. So what I want to look at is, if I trim, so I'm off camera there, carefully trim down that sword, I'm going to have to take the pommel off the bottom of the hand there. Let's tidy this up. So for anyone new watching, what is a hobby half hour? A hobby half hour is exactly what it says it is. It's about half an hour of me just making something. Might be chatting, might not be. Haven't done any painting ones yet, but that's not too far away, where I spend time painting and generally just making my models. It's my hobby time. I want to say a quick thank you to any of my new subscribers who are joining me on my hobby journey. It is appreciated. Okay, so that is, yep, that's the pose that I want there. So let's go back to the sergeant. Now I've already prepped the arms. Standard power axe from the Grey Hunter kit. There's going to be on here. Now what I will do, as I do with most of my videos, at the end, any models that I've completed or worked on, I will put a small gallery so you can have a little bit more of a look at it. So if the only thing you do is watch a bit of the video, then skip to the end and have a look at the gallery, it's fine by me. I've had an idea about this sergeant, and I found a part from an old kit that I really want to use. Make sure that that's sitting in place properly. A little bit of a glue on my finger. I've got a fingerprint on there, that's alright. It's on the backpack section. Okay, so there is that there. Right, while that's drying, let me get some shoulder pads. So I need 1, 2, 3, 5 shoulder pads from the Space Wolves kit, and I want to make sure I get them with details and things like that on it. So let's get this one with all of the runes. That will go on the sergeant. You know what, that one will go on the heavy bolter. And then these ones don't have lots of detail on, they'll work for the other long fangs. And just a normal one for the sergeant's last one. Okay, so let's do the one for the heavy bolter wielding. Okay, so because this one's already got a small shoulder pad on one side with more of a bigger gauntlet, I'm not going to worry about adding a shoulder pad over the top of that. Quite like the unusual kind of the size difference on that. I think it works quite nicely. There is a larger shoulder pad you can get for that, but I'm not going to worry too much about that. Now, head-wise, I'm going to go for this one. Now, all of the long fangs that I've got, they're all going to have a target to a bionic eye head. So I've used the ones from Grey Hunters, the Blood Claws kit, and one from the Wolf Guard, as well as 2 from the Devastator squad. So there we go. Now, I did notice when I picked up this part, there's a section cut out of the backpack, and that is for a little bit of detail from one of these backpack icons. And I think I am just going to put one of these on, even though they're not a Grey Hunter or anything, but it just shows some of their icons. I might change that later down the line to a different bit of iconography, but for now I'll just leave it as that on there, which I think that works quite nicely. Okay, put that one aside. Let's bring in this one. So this one is going to have, actually, no, it's going to have this one. Now I've got the option with these whether I use the standard Space Marine backpack or the missile launcher one, and I think I am going to go for the standard one, mainly because I like the outline that it gives. So while I'm putting that on, let's get one of these standard ones clipped off. I wonder if I'll get to do any other squad in this hobby half hour, or I'm just going to stay with these long fangs. If I just stay with the long fangs, hey, doesn't bother me. I get to finish off my favourite squad. Now there's loads of other little details I want to add to these, like belt pouches. For the missile launcher guys, there are the missiles that you get in. Yeah, I like that. Getting the Devastator squad, which go on the belts as well. Okay. Now I want you to fit in there. There we go. There's that one. Okay. Yep, I like how that's looking. Right, let's get this last one here. Let's get another backpack for this one. Now, if there's anything in a hobby half hour you'd like to see, whether it's a conversion or making a specific model, let me know. I have many models in my collection that I haven't made. It is one of the things I want to try and amend and not have as a problem, is sorting out all of my hobby stuff and have not as many projects on the go. Oh, I got some on my finger. That's all right. Always be careful with your glue. for this one, I have a beaky or wumble helmet with a bionic eye. I quite like the look of this guy pointing at something before they take a shot. Okay, let's put that to one side. So now, the sergeant, let's get these shoulder pads on. Now, which way round do I go? That's gonna put this one on this side. Yeah, I've always loved that classic Long Fangs squad, which is why I wanted to create a squad inspired by them. Okay, let's get a backpack. I'm going to have to spend some other time having a think about all of the details on their belt pouches and stuff like that. So I'm not going to worry about that in this video, but I'll get the main bulk of them put together. Looking at the top, I'm going to be able to put some wolf guard together as well, which would be nice. Now, with this backpack, I have one thing that I really want to put on this, and that is a back banner. Just as an homage to the old style Space Marines with their back banners. And as Long Fangs are the older Space Wolves, I like to think that they might hold a tradition. Okay, there we go. I'm really happy with that. Let's have a quick look at these while that one dries. So we've got the multi-melter Space Wolf Long Fang, a missile launcher Long Fang, a heavy bolter wielding Long Fang, another missile launcher, and then this sergeant with a back banner. Now, just then when I was looking at this one, I'm going to change the head on that one. Ooh, and that shoulder pad hasn't glued. I'll take that head off. Let's put a bit more glue in the right place on this shoulder pad. Although a head that I'm going to use isn't going to have a bionic eye, don't mind, but I'm going to go with a bear head with this top knot as kind of, I think, goes with the aesthetic a little bit more. There we go. So I've got him looking at the targeting. I can computer on that missile launcher. Yeah, I prefer that with the top not there. Cool, okay. So like I said, I'm going to leave pictures of those at the end of the video. What I'm going to do now, I pre-made the bodies to the Wolf Guard, and I'm going to put one of these together, maybe two, not sure yet. Right, I need to find, there we go. I want to make sure I put together the right weapons and parts. So I'm going to start with the assault cannon. So let's get these parts together. I might not get the whole thing done, but we'll see how far I get. Like I said, if you want to see more things that make in a hobby half hour, drop it in the comments. Yeah, it's nice to do a little bit of hobby, even if I'm feeling grotty. It's a little bit too much glue there. I always do like an assault cannon. I'm glad the Wolf Guard have a nice kind of unique options within their Terminator squads. It is interesting to see as well that you can, other than Wolf Guard, field normal Terminator squads and Terminator assault squads in your Space Wolf armies. Obviously they'd still be Wolf Guard, but they'd have different rules for them. Oops. Okay, there is that body. Right, I think for now I'm going to call it there. I've finished my Long Fang squad, which I'm happy with. I'll start putting this guy together, which I'll carry on later, I think. But for now, like I said, I'll put a little gallery together at the end of my Long Fangs that I've done. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed this little hobby half hour, whatever you've been doing while you've been watching it, whether you've been doing your hobby at the same time, whatever. But anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. My name's John, and you've been watching War Games, Models, and other hobbies.